All right, I want to talk about coaching for just a second. There's a lot of talk about this around the league right now. I think you are kind of like me, at least in the past, when talking about hot seat stuff, in that you don't really lean into it. I don't really lean into it. You, like me, probably think firing a guy should be closer to the last resort than the first thing that comes to your mind. And yet we've got varying degrees of it around the league right now. Billy already lost his job at Florida. There's a lot of talk around Hugh Freeze. There's talk around LSU's. Part of it's the offensive staff. Part of it's just straight up Brian Kelly, even though they're 5-2 and can still make the playoff if they win out. So I'll ask this, or you can even go Norvell, Florida State. I'm going to ask you this. I'm understanding it's case to case, based on individual circumstances. When is it actually time to start having that conversation versus having the conversation of, well, he didn't forget how to coach. Let's get to the end of the season and let's maybe clear out some of the underbrush, clear out some of the roster, overhaul some of the staff, reallocate resources, get an infusion of cash. Like, where do you draw that line? Because I think it's kind of hard, but it's kind of like if a team quits on someone, like I think Norvell's on the precipice of having happened 2 years in a row, that's where I got real trouble saying, oh, don't worry, we'll just give you a third shot at this. However, with like Brian Kelly, maybe unlikable and all that, and that traffics well on message boards, but dude, I'm not going to hot seat yet when the guy's 5-2. Now, we play 12 games, so every game is paramount, every game's huge, and maybe that changes if you go really cold down the stretch. Hugh Freeze finds himself somewhere in between, where he got a lot of close losses. None of these are blowouts. Defense playing its tail off. Team hasn't really quit, although you'll find people to question maybe the competitive integrity, person to person sometimes. So where's your head at on all this?
I think it's always going to be a case-by-case basis. And now I'm actually interested in really where it is, because I'm not sure that I know necessarily when you get to that point. And that is because of administratively where we are in college football, financially where we are in college football, roster movement where we are. Maybe single portal entry is going to help this a little bit and calm it down. The way that I would probably measure it, Josh, is when you begin to lose the fan base, when that becomes evident and it looks like it's not working. With what you said let's get to the end of the year, let's reevaluate, let's get some staff out of there, let's maybe try to reinvent our roster just a little bit. When you've done that 2-3 times, I think it's time to say, this isn't going to work. This just isn't it. And there are certain programs right now, I think, where we're sort of hearing some of the same excuses, seeing some of the same problems that we've seen for 2-3 years. At that point in time, I think it's safe to say, you're about to lose your fan base. You'll probably start to lose your administration. And when you do that, by administration, I think I'm including the people that are essentially going to pay for these rosters. I know they're not employees of the school, but I view them in the same light as I would the athletic director, the president, and whatnot. So I think once you look at it and say, this is kind of what we are, and if that's not satisfactory, it's never too early to make that move. And I've never been one that likes it in season. I've told you this before. We've had that conversation of what it does to the players. They're going to receive less coaching. They're going to receive less teaching, less attention, because now all those assistants are thinking about their next job. And I'm not mad at them for that. Who could blame them? You're done at the end of the season. The new guy's not going to keep you around. So you're out there making phone calls, trying to see where you could land next year, where you and your family are going to have to move to. Are you going to have to move your family? What's going to take place? The other guys don't know. And now with the portal, you have no idea how many players are even going to consider sticking around with you or go with you to the next place. So you're having those conversations. I don't like it in season. I hate it for the kids. But they're also different players now. They're also getting paid now. They have the ability to leave whenever they want. So I don't feel as bad as I once did, but it is an unfortunate scenario when you have 3, 5, 7 games left and the attention span of the coaches, the players, the team continuity just immediately goes away because everybody is hyper-focused on what's next, and you can't really blame them for that. I wouldn't be mad at anybody for it. It's just where you are. So I don't know if there's a timeline that we can look at right now just because of how new everything is. I don't know if we'll ever really have this figured out until we get some sort of settlement across college football. I don't even mean that legally. I just mean like when the dust settles, when we can calm down and understand, okay, year to year, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to look like. This is how you evaluate. This is how you replenish your roster. This is when guys can go, can't go. This is when we're not going to have court dates every 7 weeks and different guys are going different places trying to sue the NCAA and get more eligibility. And guys from the G League are coming back to play college basketball. Like when all that stuff settles down, we may be able to figure this out. Until then, I mean, think about some of these situations we're talking about right now, Josh. These places want to get rid of their coach, but financially they're not able to do that. Like, what's your timeline there? Are you just waiting for a booster to come knock on your door and say, okay, I've had enough. Here's the check. Get him out of here. We're good now. And if that's the case, if that guy even has it and is potentially going to give it to you at some point, why are we waiting now for it to get worse? Because if that support is gone and the morale is gone, what's going to make it better? I just don't think it's going to. So I don't know if waiting now is anywhere near as good of an answer as it has been in the past.
Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year round. And we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. Here's where I struggle with it. All right, so there's, on one hand, I've got the logic that I personally apply. And the other hand is reality. Take Penn State James Franklin as an example. In my logical hand, I thought to myself, all right, they made this a national title or bust season. It busted. They're going to lose more games. It became obvious it was just a dead team. All right, my logical hand says in the new modern age of college football, the worst case scenario, even for the better coaches, is going to be there may be a dead season baked in every now and then because the root system is way different roster-wise than it used to be. However, my logical hand says that doesn't automatically mean I need to fire the guy. But there's no emotion in my logical hand. And so Penn State looked at it, and you'll have people from Penn State say, oh, bro, there was no other option. We had to make this move. We had to do it. There was no other choice. I will never agree with that fundamentally, but also it's not my team. I'm not the donor there. I'm not the season ticket holder. And what's crazy is when the human dynamics get thrown in there, it gets hard to make the decisions. And also, we could be talking about Hugh. We could be talking about Billy. We could be talking about Mike Norvell. We could be talking about whoever, Brian Kelly. There is about 95% attention from the fan base paid to, do we want to get rid of this guy? There's about 5% attention paid to, is there a definitive upgrade that we already have in our back pocket that we know is ready to take the job and has agreed in principle if we make this move? Because if you don't have that, you're paying tens of millions of dollars to guess. That's basically what you're doing, and that terrifies me.
Yeah, I have no doubt. And I think even that part of it has become more complicated because of the playoff. Are you going to sit around and wait for a coach that's going to be in the postseason and going to go potentially that deep in the postseason? If not, when do you draw the line of, okay, any coach potentially in that playoff system, we're done. We're going to wait for round one. If they continue, we have to go make a move somewhere else. You and I don't know what those lines in the sand are going to be or what those deadlines are going to be. So it's more complicated than ever. And I just want to give a shout out to producer Jesse. By the way, I know I'm driving him crazy right now about moving around as much as I am. That single shot on Josh just saved my right arm. And I just want to tell him that I appreciate that because otherwise I think this arm was going to fall off. But I'm appreciative, and I think he needs to know that because nobody else tells him they appreciate him. So I figured I'd at least let him know that I do appreciate one thing that he's done today.
That's what the money's for. That's what the money's for. Also, half our audience listens on podcast, has no clue what you're talking about. But I appreciate that. I appreciate the theater of the mind.